What's up, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down a very big test coming to Tesla stock and why it's looking very interesting right now. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below or use my QR code right here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below or deposit $100, you're going to get $20 for free NVIDIA stock. If you deposit $2,000 or more, you're going to get $50 worth of NVIDIA plus a $100 cash reward. Deposits $10,000 or more to get $300 worth of NVIDIA for free plus $100. Or deposit $50,000 or more to get $1,000 for free NVIDIA stock plus $100. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends very soon, so please use my link down below to sign up. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the markets. So, as far as Tesla's going, as you guys could tell, we're trying to make higher lows right now, and that's a good sign. As long as we do this, we could be looking for an attempt to get to 450 all over again. Now, during this pre-market session, Tesla's going to likely gap down. Just a gap to fill above, which tells me that Tesla could attempt some kind of bounce move. We're going to see how well we hold above 445. If we don't, we're watching 442 and then 439 as our supports. But overall, as long as we make higher lows here, we're going to be favoring basically an attempt for 450 or above. So looking for a move like this on Tesla, as long as you can hold above 445, this will bounce and go for 450 or above or higher. But in case we lose, 445, we're looking for 442 and 440 as our main supports before potentially bouncing. That's like a little bit more of like the bearish case. But for now, I think that that's not looking as likely. I think Tesla could see, some kind of small retracement by like 1 or 2 points. But as long as we end up holding above 445, yes, it will eventually try to bounce back up for 450 plus very soon, in my personal opinion. So let's see how well Tesla holds up. As long as we don't lose like 440, we should kind of like dip a little bit, then try to bounce and eventually push for the 450s. This is what Elon Musk reposted on his X page. We had Sawyer Merritt come out talking about how he came back from a 3-hour drive around Boston using Tesla's FSD. He said no interventions were made. It was very awesome overall, and it's noticeably smoother and more comfortable in everyday driving compared to the previous version. So that is a good piece of news, at least so far. We're just seeing how much FSD is improving. It's being used in all kinds of different cities from Boston to New York, and eventually we're going to see the robotaxi expand to those areas. There's also been some more talk about the profitability of Tesla's so-called affordable new cars. It's going to be in focus during earnings to see if this will help them to offset their sales. Remember, they're priced in at $5,000 or $5,500 lower than the predecessors in the USA. They're cutting the battery size, offering a less powerful motor, and there's going to be less features in them. But once again, they're going to be a lot more affordable. So we'll see if this could help their sales, and we're going to see how this affects margins. In terms of data for today, there's not really much coming out. Today is Tuesday, October 21st. We have Waller from the Fed giving a speech at 9 a.m. and then 3:30 p.m., and that's pretty much it. We had a big outage for Amazon Web Services yesterday, but once again, hopefully much of these issues are being resolved, and I hope the issues are basically fixed by now, and hopefully their overall servers are back. Besides that, I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy, at least on the news. So that's what's worth mentioning. GM also had their earnings. They ended up doing very well. The share prices ended up going up, beating on EPS and revenue. So good job by GM. Then we also had Coca-Cola announce their earnings. They also beat expectations, and we saw the volume up 1%. We also saw them reiterate the full year forecast, so they're doing well for earnings. We also have Netflix later on today, and then Tesla's will be tomorrow, so be ready. Finally, when it comes to President Trump, he warned that China could face tariffs as high as 155% unless Xi Jinping signs a fair deal with Washington. We heard that, but it's not really affecting the market too much as of right now, so we'll see how well things go. So for Tesla, if we lose 442, we're looking for a test of 439 to 440. Then we'll have to bounce off that if you want to see this continue to push. But if we're bullish, you want to see us just hold 445. As long as 445 holds, we're going to likely consolidate before starting to push for 450 plus. Then we're going to be looking for a higher low. In my opinion, the most likely possibility is that we're going to see a little bit of a shuffle on Tesla. This looks to me like we're going to likely retest, 442, bounce back up, kind of consolidate just like we did yesterday. Then later on, we could attempt to push for like the 450s as long as this trend continues, as long as we don't lose 439. We're going to likely try to make higher lows, and I think that there's a good chance Tesla consolidates before trying to break out higher. So keep that in mind. That's one of the most likely possibilities, and we'll have to see what happens after that. We're also forming a nice accumulation right over here with an inverse head and shoulders. This might reaccumulate before trying to break out for 450 plus, so give this the time it needs. But overall, that is what I'm seeing, at least for the share price. For SPY, if SPY could break 672, we're going to be looking for an attempt to push back up towards 674. If we're bearish, however, when we can't hold 670, we could be dumping back down towards the 666 area. So it all depends on how well we hold up. We're looking at a range between 672 and 670. If we break 672, we're looking for 674. But if we lose 670, we're going to be looking for a dip back down to 666, and then the gap fill to 664. So there is a rising wedge like setup. Will this pan out, and do we get some kind of rejection? Do we keep running? Right now in the pre-market, we're completely neutral. So we're going to be watching to see which way we break. Do we lose 670 and dump? Or do we break 672 and run higher? It could go either way, but just be careful considering there's a rising wedge. I do want to give you guys a warning about that. A downside warning is still possible, so we'll see how it goes. The triple Q is also looking a little bit weaker than SPY. If we're bullish, you want to break past 613 to hit new all-time highs. But if we end up losing 610, we could be dipping back down to fill the gap near 604. So be careful. There could be some kind of pullback move in case it fails. On the IWM, we hit 248 and started coming down, but we need to reclaim 248 to bounce. If we don't, 246 will likely be retested. If that fails us, we're looking for 242. So we'll see how well that ends up holding up. On ES, there's a head and shoulders like pattern, but keep in mind we have 6780's resistance alongside 6800, and our support is at 6750. If 6750 fails us, we're tipping back down to 6733. But if we break past 6780, we're looking for 6800. We're in the middle right now, so be careful in case we get some kind of rejection, especially if we make a lower high. So if we end up losing 6750, we're going to be turning back down towards 6733. We're going to see if we reject or not from here. We could go either way, but we're very flat in the pre-market, so I'd be very patient with this. I did think we might go a little higher for like 6,800 before we pivot, but we're coming a little short. So let's see what we do. We're completely flat right now. Same thing with NQ. If we break 25,400, we're going to be looking a lot more bullish. But if we can't do so, there's going to be a risk of us kind of like pushing and then dipping back down to 25,100. So we'll see how well it goes. Bitcoin also got this small rejection here. We're going to see if this could temporarily try to bounce. We're trying to rebound to 109,000. We need to hold above that. If not, we could still turn down towards 106,000. As far as Tesla's going, like I said before, we've been trying to make higher lows so far, but keep in mind we're very flat in the pre-markets. We're going to likely gap up, gap down. And I think Tesla's going to see some consolidation. Might retest 442, bounce a little bit, just consolidate like this. But as long as we can hold up around here, we will eventually try to run for like the 450s by the end of the day, if not by tomorrow. But in case we lose 440, then we're looking for like 438. So make sure you watch those levels. I'm anticipating some consolidation before an attempt to bounce. I still think there's hope for Tesla, especially with the gap to fill above. For Nvda, we need to break past 183.78 to push higher. But if we end up losing 182, we're looking for a dip back down to 179. With this reaccumulating, I want to see us break 184 to push higher, so give this the time it needs. For Apple's once again coming down just a bit. We have 260s our main support, and we'll see if we bounce off this or not. But if we end up breaking past 260, we're looking for a bigger bounce. So we'll look and see what happens once we retest 260, and we'll see if we get some kind of bounce or not. For AMD, we're making higher lows so far. We could be retesting 234, and we'll see if we bounce. I do think this dips a little bit, so be a little bit careful with AMD. Palantir might be retesting 179. We'll have to see what happens after that. So you want to be very careful. Coinbase has resistance at 348 and support at 337. Might retest 337. We'll see what happens after that. Amazon has resistance right here at 218. We're going to see if this breaks or not. If it does, we're looking for that gap fill. It's like 220. Meta is trying to break past resistance. We need to hold above 733. As long as that holds, we could be looking for 740. But if it doesn't hold, that it could be turning back down. So far, we look a bit more bullish, so we'll see how well it holds up. And Google might be dipping to 252, so give that the time it needs. Might come down a bit. Microsoft, however, looks more bullish. As long as 515 holds, we're going to be looking for an attempt for 520, so keep that in mind. Also, the VIX is rejecting here, making lower highs, so it could be dipping a bit lower, back down towards 17.4, which once again might be a sign the market might be going a little higher still. So for now, there is still some upside potential, but we're going to see if we get a rejection or not. As of right now, I'm very neutral in the market. We're just waiting to see which way we break. As far as Tesla goes, we're also going to likely see some consolidation before potentially going higher. My view is that as of right now, it looks like we might kind of like do this, consolidate for a bit, and we could still attempt to go for like the 450s later on. As long as support holds, we're looking for a very, very big test in Tesla. I don't want to see us basically lose like 442 or 440. As long as those levels hold, we're going to be looking for some consolidation and an attempt to push for 450 plus. All right, so that's it for my updates. I thank you all so much for listening, and peace out.